Hey everybody, this is Dating and Marriage Perspectives with Amber and Karina. Damn good to the last word. Welcome to our show. Today we are talking about the 90-day rule, which we talked about already in our last show with just Amber and I. But today we have the male perspectives. So we have my brother who's joining us today, and who I have to say, anytime I have a question about a dating, men, relationship, whatever, he's my first phone call. And then Amber's my second. Sometimes she's my first and sometimes he's my second. Either way.
It's more for confirmation either way, right?
I mean, either way, it just lands about the same way because they keep it real. It's full transparency and they just tell me like it is. So that's why sometimes it's hard to give them a call. But if I really want to know what's going on, then I give them a call. Anyway, Emil, welcome.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks
Good
for
to see you
being
too,
here.
sweetheart. You're welcome. You're welcome. So let me piggyback off what you just said. There was a book written a few years ago by a very wealthy hedge fund manager. His name was Ray Dalio. He's probably, you know Ray Dalio, right, Amber?
Yes, he's amazing.
So amazing. And he is a pioneer of I guess, a business objective format called radical transparency. And that's how he runs his fund. It's a whole other, conversation, but it's about laying bare the bare necessity, the truth about a particular situation in front of all to actually gain reciprocity, right? The most honest and possible reciprocity, no matter how it makes you feel, to make you better. So it's constructive decision-making, right? It's not critiquing, right? It's constructive decision-making to better enhance the quality of your views or your perspectives on life or your business acumen, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of folks hide behind fluff, wordplay, et cetera. But when you tear it down and rip it open and go behind the curtain, you see the truth, which is what that style of business objectivity is. So I've always been a real full believer after some really bad experiences in my later 20s with women, that if you don't bear the truth, right, or give women the absolute open book to say what they want to say and get what they want, then they're always going to blame you for not being honest. I hate being told you weren't honest with me when I first met you. So I give them the choices. Do you want this, that, or the third? Whatever choice you pick is on you. I'll give you a day to think about it. You can call me back.
A day?
You want.
A day?
I'm just saying, yeah, because sometimes it's a lot to think about.
Okay.
And if I give you something to think about, if I give something to think about, and as gut-wrenching as it is to have to admit that I like this choice that you gave me because it fits my life for now, I'm going to respect that. Why? Because you're not bringing your representative to the forefront. I hate the representative. Mm-hmm. It's like an agent for a football player, mm-hmm. right? The football player does all of the work, but the agent does all the talking.
Right.
Right? They never do all the work. They just do all the talking. I don't need a representative doing all the talking. Right? I need you to move the agent, and I need for you to be transparent as the player.
Can I ask you a question on that? I'm sorry. Can they change their mind ever?
Well, I'll usually say no.
Really?
Because the part about that is self-serving. Because when you're young and you're a young man, I'm gonna speak for myself, a young man growing up in the urban center with a boatload of friends, right? Male friends who are also running in the same type of group format, a professional environment in New York City. All of you are basically, on your own, and you're finding yourselves. We're all self-serving and selfish as humanly possible, right? And most young men are usually most manipulative, in their younger years, especially with no real training, right, on how to manage relationships. Then you're always usually going to come from a perspective of, hey, I could do this for you if that, et cetera, to get to your end goal. And we all know what that end goal is, right? And unfortunately, this is where we do ourselves a disservice, because now we're poisoning the pool of women that are out there on manipulative behavior.
So you
Right.
don't ever get to change your mind either. Then you don't ever, if you guys start out in category 1, you don't ever get to go to category 2. Let's say you started in your lifetime, in that area in category 1, but now you've matured and you guys are still doing category 1. Well,
Right.
after a while, it's been a while. What if you guys catch feelings and maybe you guys decide to, are you able to change your mind to category 2?
So interesting you asked that, Amber. I go from category 1 to 3, right? We stay in what I usually prefer 1 and 2 because it's self-serving.
Okay.
And 1 and 2 is really about giving her the opportunity to decide in the moment, in this particular place you are right now in your life, which category I'm presenting you like, because number 3, this is, I want to be your woman. I want to live with you. I want to start a relationship. I want to go to marriage. Most young women, particularly in 1990s, at 23 years old, we're not trying to get married.
Right.
So I'm not going to present that part. But 1 and 2, it's flexible because they're both interchangeable in some form or manner.
Okay.
I can tell you what that is because I know most people will be like, well, he's talking about categories. What does that mean? Like, what is he talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear.
All right. Well,
if that's okay, Karina, is that okay?
No,
we're going with it.
Okay.
Okay. So in the vein of radical transparency, right? Ray Dalio. So you meet a woman, you say, listen, I think you're this, I think you're that. We feed you that, I think you're, etc. thing. However, that's the modifier, right? But or however, I know your situation. Right, you broke up with your boyfriend 6 months ago, et cetera, et cetera. It's hard to get over him, but you're out here on these streets again. You don't like it, but it is what it is. Type of scenario. Right? A lot of women break up with their boyfriends, and they're with their girlfriends, and they're just aimlessly wandering the social scene, trying to find their place again. Right. So you say, I can offer you this, and I'm gonna say, please just excuse what I'm about to say because it sounds really super harsh, right? But I'll minimize the vulgarity or whatever.
Oh, I don't mind. Do you mind?
So you'll say, if you just want to have a good time,
which is
no,
sex.
Sex, no strings attached. I'm not taking you out. You ain't have no drinks. I ain't staying over. You ain't staying over by me. It's just that.
Okay.
That's category 1.
Okay.
I see you with a guy, I don't care, vice versa, you don't care.
Sure.
You can speak, that's all in there, right? But however, we are not obligated to each other, none whatsoever. Don't pretend we are. If you're gonna do that, then you're not really emotionally ready for that type of situation. Because that's a pretty aggressive way to manage a relationship, right? Although we're sexually involved, you ain't nothing to me. That's hard to accept, right? Because it sounds like you're being dismissed or diminished as if you have no value. But in essence, you're fulfilling only what you need for yourself because you cannot have any emotional attachment right now, but I want to be serviced well, right?
And a woman can feel that way as well.
Absolutely.
Right.
A woman could be there too.
Absolutely. And I've always used to caveat that with, listen, you're an adult and no woman wants to hear she's not. We're making a decision together. I'm going to facilitate you as best as I can. If I'm available to see you on Friday at 12:30 a.m., great. If you're going to be at the club and you want to hook up after that, great. But you ain't staying over, vice versa. We can respect each other's spaces in that format. If I see you with a guy in the street or in a club, I'll say, what's up? That's that. Go about your business. Category
1, The 90-day rule does not exist.
That's correct.
Absolutely not. The category one has
Null and void.
the
Okay.
90-day
Day
rule.
rule. The day rule don't exist in the
The 90-day
category
rule
one.
does not even figure into this.
Location doesn't exist.
Right.
Nothing,
Don't
right?
matter.
No drones looking for you. Nothing.
Right.
All right.
Okay, that's category one, right?
Okay.
And that's most people, right? That's like the hookup, right? It's
Yeah,
like the hookup in a club.
Yeah.
It is what it is, booty call, right? But I just find that over the years, a lot of women in particular do not appreciate the diminished capacity feeling of just being used for sex, and or her just using a guy for sex, and she catches feelings, because the catches feelings part is the part that begins to erode the category.
Wait,
Right,
did
the
you
catchy
say a lot
feelings
of
part.
women don't appreciate
Yeah, they don't appreciate
diminishing
the
aspect of just having sex?
yeah, and not feeling the feelings, right? Men can have sex
And not have
anywhere
fun.
and don't even have to know your name.
True.
This is
Yeah,
this is
I'm
the
having
part
a hard
about
time with diminishing.
yeah. Diminished meaning their value they feel diminished value in the act of just feeling like you're only having sex and I mean nothing to you.
Mhm.
Women always want to feel like they mean something to
Nope.
somebody.
Not always.
And-
No. Women have
Okay.
the same needs as men.
And this is the point I'm making to you, Amber,
Okay.
right? This is the category I'm hoping you want to fall in because it feeds my needs too, right? Category two is a little bit more advanced and a little more enhanced, right? It gives you a few more amenities, but it's still the same thing.
So we could call
Amenities.
category one booty call, and then category two Netflix and chill.
Yes,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
right? So category two is the new Netflix and chill,
Mhm.
right? But we are not together. You can't leave your toothbrush here, no panties, no boots, no shoes. Take it with you.
Who
But
needs
I
to-
like you and you're cool. And you're cool,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You're not my woman, I'm not your man, but we can hang out.
Okay.
A lot of people like that, right?
Yeah.
But there was no Netflix and chill in the 20s, in the 2s, and the 90s. So, you know, we still had that, right? Most women loved 1 and 2 because it facilitated them and they also felt like they had somebody to hang out with, especially and particularly when you're coming from the club on Saturday, it's 12 o'clock, you know he's home, and you call him, what are you doing?
Mhm.
I'm watching ESPN, can I come through? That's usually what most people,
Oh, vice versa.
yeah.
vice versa. And
Coming home from the club.
Mhm.
sincerely, vice versa. So when I say women, I also mean that we also have that
Okay.
exchange with you.
Okay, good.
That's 2. 3,
So wait, before we go to 3, how does the 90-day rule play into
That's what I was
stage number 2?
so it doesn't, right? So I'll tell you why. Because from the beginning of our off-camera conversation, you have to set your standard when you meet a guy. I just told you, I'm offering you 1 and 2. It is your responsibility to say, I'm not comfortable with that because I don't feel value in that. It's great and it's fun.
Yeah.
However,
Mhm.
category number 3 allows us to be patient, allows us to be cordial, allows us to enhance the quality of the relationship effectively because we're exclusively involved, right? Number 3 is an exclusive relationship where I acquiesce to your needs, vice versa. You're my lady. We're hanging out. You become my girlfriend. We choose to be together. It's a choice between the 2 because 3 actually is not is not based off malicious behavior, being sneaky and snide, calling you at all odd hours to facilitate my need. 3 is literally, we are going to enhance the quality of this relationship together and work towards that same place where we both want stability,
Mhm.
right? Relationship level stuff.
So is there a time frame? So does
The 90-day rule is number 3.
okay, that's
That's
what
where,
I'm gonna ask you.
because you set your standard and then
Yes.
you move.
Okay. All right.
Wait, what was the last part you said? I missed it.
The 90-day rule is number 3.
Okay, yeah.
It's category number 3, because now you have the ability to say, I got a 90-day rule in this relationship. And it really allows you to view him as, is this guy patient? Is he mature in his approach to managing my emotional needs, right? Do I see him and appreciate the effort he's making and respecting that standard I set for him to follow? Because once you got a guy at the beginning of a relationship who has acquiesced to category 3 and saying, you know what? He says to himself, I'm 36. I've been on these streets with my friends. This is how Black men talk to themselves. I've been on these streets with my friends forever. I've been running through these chicks, wasting mad bread. I'm not doing anything. My other buddies are getting married. They got this, that, and the third. I'm rising my career. I'm still single. I'm going to banquet dinners, and I'm the only single motherfucker at the table. All these white dudes and their wives. What do you do for a living? Or do you have a girlfriend? And then now it gets awkward as you become older. And it's, why is this 50-year-old man by himself? Right?
Because he was playing with 1 and 2 for too long.
Because he's been doing 1 and 2 for too long. Right?
That's
and
true.
you're aging out. And I'll say this, I aged myself out of having a family because I was on them streets too fucking long with these fucking dudes that I run with, which I love my friends. But there is a point in time where you got to say to yourself, do I continue to have a good time with my boys and avoid a substantial relationship that will lift the quality of my life? Right? Or do I just keep rocking and be a hot, sexy playboy till I'm 50, looking corny as I get older? Right? And it's not to say you don't try, but as you get older, your tolerance level.
Heck yeah. And your thing shrivels up.
And well, I don't know about that, but I know for a fact it gets lonely. It gets lonely complaining about not having.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I had to make a choice. For me personally, like, do I invest in my wife, who was a woman I was seeing at the time, right? Do I invest in her? Right? She had 2 young girls at the time. And to me, at that moment, I'm saying to myself, do I want to invest in something that I'm not sure will work in the long run because of all of this stuff I'm bringing on? But I had more fun with them than I did with my friends being out all the time.
Yeah,
It's not meaningful.
You wanted to rest.
It's from 16 to 35 is a long, long time and a lot of money going to waste. No, waste.
Well, because you put them in number 2. You should have been sticking with some of them in number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they chose number 2.
Oh,
I've been doing number 1 my whole 20s.
Yeah. No, I understand.
And 2. But like 80-20, but more 1 than 2.
Yeah.
And all my friends are still doing 1.
Ooh.
What did you say? All your friends are still doing
All
1
my
and
friends
2?
still doing 1. Not even 2, 1. Because 2 ain't working for a lot of them, but 1 is, because now they're meeting younger women who like their lifestyles.
Now that I would like us, not this one, but maybe we can bring you back on, because I really want to understand why men in their 50s are what they're looking for sometimes is in their like early 20s. I really like to understand the mindset behind that.
Well, that speaks to, God bless him, right? Kevin Samuels, who passed away about a week or 2 ago, right? Are you familiar with Kevin Samuels? Really? Oh my.
I'm sure I've seen him though.
Yeah, who's that?
Well, Kevin Samuels was a YouTube sensation. Older Black man, probably Kevin Samuels
Who was
55.
always talking about Black women and how we can't date. Yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of people have, well, women in particular have a very, very bad taste in their mouths because of Kevin Samuels.
Mhm.
And there's a misconception about Kevin Samuels' approach that is very disheartening to women of a certain age, because there may be some leftover residual of resentment of how they manage their lives. So what he's done is he will categorize your life, and he speaks to such a large population of Black women that a lot of you made some really poor decisions in your 20s. And a lot of you try as much as you can to pivot away from taking accountability from bad choices, willingly walking into relationships with men who are not in the same caliber of space as you, dating way below your what's what I'm looking for?
Standards.
Your standard of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to be a corporate lawyer and date an investment banker. You can still be a corporate lawyer as a woman and date a guy who's, I don't know, head of security at a bank, right? You may be making 190, he could be making 60, but it doesn't matter, because what you're looking for is the stability of a household, bringing up children and having something together moving forward, right? It's not about power coupling. And a lot of women would call in, and I've watched tons of his shows, and what he does is he starts to ask meaningful, honest questions to extract the necessary points, find where the pain is, ask you what happened here, what happened there. Did you grow up with your father? You seem very aggressive. You have a lot of male energy. Where's your dad? Right? Did you go up with your mother? Then you no, we don't know where he is, or where's your mother? Oh, I don't talk to my mother. You say, okay, let's stop right there. What happened? And women are calling for advice, right? And do you have children? Yeah, I have one child. How old's your child? 12. Where's the father? I don't know where that motherfucker is. Stop. What happened between you and your child's father? And then you'll go, he all this stuff. And then so he extracts information and he throws it back at you. But a lot of women, some were honest, but many were not. So he was having a lot of trouble because women became antagonistic, very rude, and sort of kind of going around the subject matter. So it would cause a lot of dismay on his YouTube channel. He's a YouTube sensation.
Yeah,
because his whole thing, his whole thing was about what's called high value men. Yeah. Right. And people misunderstood high value for money making. He said, no, high value men are men usually above 35 to, let's say, 70, who have achieved professional success. They've navigated their lives in a way where they don't have a lot of excess baggage or debt. They have resourceful social circles that provide a lot of a lot of assistance to the community, right? Men who are financially stable, who build businesses, who build community around them. Utilize your resource base to affect your existing community, right? But also men who are well-groomed, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a high value man is not money, it's about resourcefulness. Because when women marry men, they're bringing together resources, right? And most men, it doesn't have to be high achieving, right? It could be men who are well off and or become very rich or wealthy, or middle class men for the master, right? Because he had a very amazing grasp on history, like African American history of prosperity, and talked about how the African American community was much more together and solid during the days of slavery and Reconstruction. And post-Reconstruction, than we are now because external factors have coalesced around us and literally disenfranchised the Black community between COINTELPRO, government intervention, drug infestation, blah, 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 blah. And he gives a grasp of what happens and what happened in the Black community as to why we are where we are, right? And social media being the purveyor, right, of all of the major problems we're having as of this very moment. Slut culture, internet culture, rap culture. This guy was on it, well-educated, smart guy, and he turned it into an image consultant, right? Helping men with their imagery in corporate America because they lacked a certain type of panache. He would help them, etc. He did it for women. His Facebook page, thousands of followers, and he's married a lot of people.
Oh, that's nice.
In his Facebook group, he's has a matchmaking service. So
I didn't know he did matchmaking.
A matchmaking service that married 12 people in 5
Really?
years.
12 people in 5 years?
That's huge.
So I have to say, like going back to an early point you made that women marry into or opt into a relationship with men of lesser standard,
Lesser means.
qualifications, all this stuff, right? And I remember two experiences where I was dating, casual dating, nothing serious, but we were friendly. And one person, after I finished my doctorate, said, "Don't think you're all that just because you have your degree."
Yeah.
Years earlier, before I even got into the doctoral program, another person I liked him a lot. Amber actually introduced me to him while we lived in LA.
Oh, really?
Pretty boy looking.
Oh.
You might remember
Oh.
that one.
Okay.
And so we were friendly. We
That
nothing
one?
serious, but we were friendly, like I said. And so when I told him he was on his way to get his master's or applying to get his master's, I think I had applied already or on my way to apply for the doctoral program. While I supported his decision, I'm like, yeah, go for your master's. His response to me was like, why don't you just get a library card?
I couldn't even handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So
Was that sarcasm?
It's not like
sarcasm
my
when he meant
entire
that?
dating experience, but when I had those experiences, I'm like, well, damn, maybe I do need to date someone who has at least a college degree, or has at least a master's degree, or at least has, I don't know, but it does get to you. For me, when you've accomplished so high academically and have accomplished in a lot of different ways in my life, to have someone, especially a man of color, tell me, get a library card. To get the doctoral program, just get a library card.
I'll tell you what that's
Or just finishing my doctorate,
Yeah.
sacrificing 3.5 years of my life in different ways, and say, you ain't shit.
right.
I would say too, consider it a blessing, right? Because they're not going to support you for anything.
No, absolutely. It's just
That's my opinion.
getting back to his point is the specific experiences that women pivot to seek a specific relationship or relationship with a specific person because of that experience.
Right.
Sucks ass.
I'll tell you what that is, right? So, and again, my opinion, a guy will get, a graduate degree to advance his career, right? You're doing the exact same thing, but he limited himself to that because that's what he needed at the time so he can continue to live, right? That doctorate just said to him, you're going to be in school for how long again? And what is that for? Because he probably doesn't really understand your story and what you're trying to achieve. And unfortunately, sometimes, particularly in academia, you have to get these things, right? To get to somewhere else, because you need that in order to actually elevate and or scale, or to legitimize yourself for that move you're gonna make, right? And most men will or just cannot foresee themselves continuously doing stuff like that, because it's really about getting this and going on a master's degree. That's it. That's what I'm done, or an MBA, whatever, and I'm out of here. I'm going to take care of this. And if you're going to go out and get another degree, he probably could not understand why. And if he maybe had a full understanding, then he probably would have seen you can manage that also working and also being in love with him. But most men are innately selfish in a way where, look, when are you just gonna have some time for me? Because this school thing, because there are more Black women in school or have been in school over the past 15 to 20 years more than there'll ever be anything else, right? You guys are the most overeducated bunch, segment in society that I've ever seen, right? And it's true, right? Statistically, it's true, right? On the other side of that coin, and I'll just paraphrase what Kevin Samuels was saying, some of you overeducate yourselves into massive debt, and you educate yourselves into industries that don't pay you for these degrees, right? I know what you do. So you got a BA and a Series 7, and you're straight for life, right? You're good. 63.
No, I have my CFP now.
That too, right? But you see what I'm saying, right? And you're on, and you got your thing because you gotta, you writing books and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there are women who get PhDs and they're social workers for the city. And I'm not knocking it. It's just that the advantageous nature of that degree does not translate in that place of business for you to make 190. You're gonna make 65,000 with a PhD being a social worker in the projects. Just to say I got it, that's insanity.
Yeah.
And you have $300,000 worth of debt and 2 cats.
What are their names?
The cats are a Twinkle and Doodlebug. I'm dead serious. And a bunch of cable and ice cream. This is a large swath. This is a large swath of the Black female population that is unmarried and they're overly educated. And there's this perspective of, well, I'll get my man after I'm done. I'm like, that is not a strategy.
What do you mean? Wait, say that. Go on with that.
Yeah, a lot of women strategize their lives based on when I'm done with this, I'll get a man. I've heard that I said, that's not a strategy. Like, after I finish my master's and I'm 35, I'm gonna get me a man.
Okay.
No.
But I would say sometimes a woman could make that decision because, say, for example, a woman of color, whether they get their BA, their master's, or their doctorate, they're least likely to persist through the degree. So sometimes the decision is, I'm not going to pursue a relationship because I really need to finish this degree. I really need to spend my time there and dedicate, whatever resources and time I would spend with my guy, with my partner, to school. Some women, not all women, but I think there's something to say about that, like why they made that decision to not pursue a relationship while they're getting their degree.
There are women who are in undergrad who find their boyfriends and their husbands while in school, while in clubs, while tennis, while swimming. You find your boyfriend in undergrad. It's the same as going to
swimming.
But you know what I mean, right?
The hair.
Men and women are the same. We make time for the person we want to make time for.
Agreed.
Right?
I do.
This is the absolute 100% statistical fact, because it's the energy you put out and the time and the effort speaks to how that person makes you feel, right? I can have 2 jobs. If I want to be with that woman, I'm going to make sure she sees my texts. I'm going to make sure I schedule a time where I'm going to do the FaceTime while I'm working night shift. Tomorrow morning, I'll send her a text and say, hi, beautiful. How are you? If I know she's at work, I'll send her fucking lunch from Chipotle. Like, I'm telling
If you want her
you.
to have diarrhea, shit.
But men, when you are on lock,
Yes.
we do whatever the hell we need, and women, vice versa. So I never really bought that I'm in school thing. I have time to, that my buddy got dumped like that.
Well,
To his face.
she didn't really, he got dumped because she wasn't into him.
Yeah, but she came back
Mm.
after she finished and he already had somebody. It was a classic story. It's a classic twist.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yes, he was out of state. That would have been hard.
Yeah.
That out of state thing is hard. So you got to, figure out, okay, is this really for 3 years going to be your life right now, bro? I understand why she doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But, those are different circumstances.
Sure.
But, the 90-day rule, to go back to that, that's category 3.
Yeah.
And again, that's really about the effort that two people have decided together,
Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
to make a consequential step to become more than what they are presently. That's when the 90-day rule thing can probably survive, right? Again, but a man has to respect it in order for it to work.
Yes. Thank
Do you tell your partner you're on a 90-day rule?
I would, as a woman, if there are women going to be watching this, I would never tell a man with your mouth,
right.
you're on a 90-day rule,
Mhm.
right? Because it's the same, it's adjacent to saying, when you're going to marry me, when you get me that ring, because now he's on notice,
Mm.
right? And now he has to be on this best behavior, because it's really artificial now.
Yeah.
You're on a 90-day rule. So now you set up an artificial situation for him to fake his way through until he can get that ass and smash
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
True. Let me ask you a question. What, as a man, like, what do you think are some good sides or good things about the 90-day rule, as it from a man's perspective, not even knowing that you're on that 90-day rule?
Well, if I am not sure I'm on a 90-day rule, then I probably wouldn't have a perspective, right? Now, what I would suggest to women who are going to put a man on a 90-day rule is, I call it shim sham, right? You got to get a man's attention to let him know how serious of a person you are about being treated the way you feel you need to be treated, right? That's how you set the course. So, hypothetical, you meet a guy, he's funny, he's all these other great things, right? And let's say 3 weeks go by. You've gone out 5 times, right? You met after work, you went for drinks, yada, yada. You get in the train together, you go separate ways. Next time you meet him on the weekend, you meet him in the city, you go to dinner, you have a nice time. He calls you Uber, sends you home. You go for brunch, maybe the next day, right? Now you're building up the rapport, you've seen his mannerism. Does he pull the goddamn chair, right? Right? Does he put the napkin on your lap? Does he put the napkin on your lap?
Mhm.
Right? All the small, tiny things that says, I'm paying attention to you, this is what I do. All that old school stuff of ordering. You get her order, you order for her, right? She goes to the bathroom, you stand up. Like all that real old school shit that she's like, oh my God, this thing is amazing, right? Not that young, not that millennial, I don't have no training because all my uncles are in jail type shit,
Right.
right? I'm talking about you learned either from books, you saw somebody, you knew old school, you got an OG in your house, your dad taught you something,
Yeah.
right? And as she's because women, they see the littlest shit that they've never had, right? A man gets up for you because, as a courtesy to say, hey, you're going to go to the bathroom. You come back, he puts the napkin on your lap again. You're like, damn. You begin to say to yourself, I would have never, right? And then what do? After it's all said and done, you text your girl, there you go. Y'all texting because it was absolutely out of the ordinary. So now you're saying, all right, I can trust this guy in telling him, listen, I had a nice time with you over the past 3 weeks. I love the way you treat me.
Ooh,
This is the way that I've always envisioned a man to treat me, right? I like you, or I like you very much. I want to know from your perspective, what's happening in your head with me, right? Because, you know, yeah, we've spoken about X, whatever, etc. Because you got to know if this guy has somebody, he's just dating, because most men are usually always just dating, right? But there's always sometimes, I'll say 80-20, on a high 80, there's always a side smash who will do something.
And
That exists.
And for women too.
And right, that exists. So you have to be perfectly honest and ready to hear that he got something on the side that's just there, if he's honest enough. But you got to be brave enough to ask. So you got to say it, because you got to be like, wow, now I'm going to say it. I'm either going to scare him off, or he's going to really respect it, or he's going to be straight to my face and be like, yeah, radical transparency, this is what's popping.
Right.
So the young lady you got on the side is that, and again, the young lady that you're seeing, or that's not serious or whatever, I would like to know, and I need for you to be radically transparent with me. It's okay, because men never expect to hear the testosterone-filled laden statements from a woman, because women are women. They're soft, they're pink, they put on their best behavior. They put on their best behavior at the dinner table.
Not all.
But you know what I mean? A lady,
a
real sister who's a woman about her shit will present the presentation that is needed for him to be like, that's a bad chick, right? Not some bird who don't know where she's at.
Right.
You feel me? Like a woman,
yes,
like y'all, like a woman.
Yeah.
So you gotta say, okay, right. What's happening with you and such? Are you still hitting that off? Is she still somebody that you're still involved with? Right? If he says yes, you have to be willing to accept it. He said, I'm thinking that, and it's scary because we can say, I'm thinking that we can move further. This is the scariest part of the conversation. I'm thinking in my mind, I would like to move forward, but I need to know what you're comfortable with, because I only want to be with and can only date one man. I don't have a guy on the side, but you gotta be, because if you have a guy on the side, you gotta tell him you got a guy on the side.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to let because he's gonna respect that next statement. It's hard. It's hard.
I think he's going to respect it, or he's going to say, I don't want her messing around with anybody else. I want her for me.
Right. And mind you, he hasn't had it yet, but you're going to say, listen, I am willing to let the guy on the side go because he's not interesting, or as you are. But are you willing to do the same thing? And do you want what I'm thinking about? Because now he has to make a decision. Nah, I just want me and you to be cool, blah, 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 blah. Then you know that even if he wanted to be his woman, he would have never let that go. He has to say, I'm gonna let that go, and me and you could rock. That means now it's exclusive. We're gonna date together to see how it can work. But you gotta, because a lot of women, unfortunately, and it's the part is you have to take responsibility for the unsaid stuff, the omissions, because women never want to look a certain kind of way, right? Because the slut culture is so embedded in the minds of women that they don't understand sometimes, like, yo, I'm an adult with a man who I have a nice time with, as he is. However, I'm willing to let this guy go because he's not fulfilling me the way that I would like. He's not a gentleman like you. He's not this, he's not this, he's not that. I prefer your company. So what do you think? You put that shit in his lap. If he says, nah, I like it the way it is, it's comfortable that way, you gotta go, because you need to be the only thing that is happening. So now you know you can have a good time, and that's that. Because then if you become weak in the knees for him, now you're part of the team, the smash team as it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have lost all respect. You have lost your footing, and your standards have been compromised.
Mhm.
Or he becomes a side piece.
True.
And you find yourself somebody.
Now, here's the problem, right? Now you convoluted because now you want to be like him, right? The thing about men and women are there's one distinct functionality that we have. Men compartmentalize in a way where women find it to be so almost sociopathic. Like, how could you meet a woman in a club, dance with her, feel her up? This is stuff. Buy her drinks and go have sex with her in the bathroom, and you don't remember her name. Most Black women, 99.9, will not meet a man in a club, have him fill you up, do all this kissy stuff in the club, and he buy you drinks, and you go to the bathroom with him in the club.
Not in COVID times.
But not in no time. Most Black women just don't do that.
It shouldn't be any time, but COVID time, especially now.
Yeah, for
Nah,
sure.
we're
Have sex in the bathroom, but we'll probably fill each other up in the club and drink. Sure.
Okay, but those extremes are highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Most men, you ask them, like, away from the cameras and away from other people, silently by themselves. If you meet a woman, like, hell yeah, 100 men will tell you hell yeah. Most women be like, oh hell, that's disgusting.
Yeah, in the back.
We compartmentalize. That's why when you hear really, disdainful messages like, yeah, I'm married, but she meant nothing to me, right? Yeah, I went away and had sex with 2 women, but my wife was home. They meant nothing to me. They literally meant nothing.
Yeah.
They meant nothing.
That's so
I
sad.
love my, and that's called compartmentalizing.
That's sad.
And that happens like that. And you guys don't understand how we do it, right? And many women try, many cannot decisively continue in that same vein because it sets a course where, right, you feel as if, how do I keep this going? It's just not within your personhood, because women are so emotionally, they're emotionally attached to having stimuli, being, touched and spoken to in a certain kind of way, and blah blah blah. That this is how they rationalize kissing and being with the guy, going out, staying with them, blah blah blah.
I think we should. I think
and you should.
Yeah, I think I want to normalize. Like, I think we should. If you're spending a certain amount of time with somebody, and this is what's happening, then I think it's a normal thing, a natural thing to have a sense of attachment or connection. Yes. Or
and decisive.
Or
women are strategically decisive about how they move, right? I know a lot of women, and when they talk to me about men and stuff like that, I'm like, you sound crazy. But when you think about on the other side of the coin, I'm like, but in her mind, it's decisive thinking for what I need right now. Men, decisive, that's not in the cards for me. Let's do it right now. This is how we got in so much trouble, right? Because we're not
category
decisive.
One.
Right, we don't think it. We don't. Yeah. We don't like stuff like that. We're weak in that sense. We don't think sometimes in that place. Like, all right, if I do this, this could happen. And if this could happen, what's the repercussions? Based on the repercussions, what's the resolution? Da, da, da. When it comes to women and sex, this is where we end up like Johnny Depp. I'm like, no, you gotta, you gotta be decisive. That's why women are different in the way that they function in society. You see what I'm saying?
so
This is why the 90-day rule applies so much to you guys. That's why it makes sense to you, because it's decisive strategy to get what you want. But if he doesn't acquiesce to it, it doesn't work. It's like being married.
Well,
You
then
can
he's
get the
not the
ring.
one. Then he's not the one too, right? Because this is
Right.
my standards. This is what my expectations are.
Right.
And the guy has the choice. Either he's going to be okay with it, and he's not. And if he's not, then
Right.
that's okay.
But the standards, with all due respect, there are standards, and then there is, Jesus,
Hallelujah.
right? There's standards,
Uh-huh.
and there's Jesus.
Yes.
When Barack Obama came on the scene, he was Black Jesus. I have never seen so many women say, "That's the man I want." That's what you're talking about. You're like, you've never said that before. That's the kind of man. Rah, rah, rah. He's a family man. Let's say, yeah, because you love the imagery, right? Imagery is a big thing, right? I know what you're thinking. He's this, he's that, but he's still a man with a lot of with his own issues, right? I mean, they were this close to divorcing many years ago, right? Michelle said it. They had their own issues, right? But he met a standard of hers, right? And everybody's standards are completely different based on their lived experiences,
Upbringings and stuff. Mhm.
upbringing, etc., exposure,
Yes.
socialization, social groups, right? Education, lack thereof, whatever. But it's who you connect to and how you move forward or you not, right? So, but sometimes, I hear the standards. I'm like, what? Like that guy cannot exist on earth because I married that nigga. Like that don't make no sense. He gotta be 6'2",
Yeah.
but you're 5'3". So if he was 5'9", he'd still be a giant to you, right? He gotta be 6'2", boy head, and he gotta go to Harvard and or at least Ivy League, and a car, that no bullshit car, and at least a house, no kids, I don't know, baby mama drama. And I'm like, at least a mill. I'm like, what? Like, who is this guy?
Right.
Like, who is this guy?
Right.
Oh, you mean Ciara's husband? Great. Well,
Russell
she's married.
Wilson.
You
Well,
want
he's
Ciara's
taken.
husband? He's married.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay,
Like-
can I ask you two? You're both married.
Yeah.
Did you go through the 90-day rule? How'd that work for the two of you?
No, Joanne and I, she didn't set a 90-day rule, but she had hella standards. Had me on fucking eggshells, right? Because when she set the pace. This is how you're gonna treat me. I ain't accepting this shit. And I never realized, she told me, well, what you shouldn't have done was introduce me to your friends, right? Because I think she was in a club with me, or she was out with me somewhere with my friend, and she had just met them recently, or some time passed, and I introduced her to a small faction. I got a large group of friends. It's a large group, but maybe a 5 of the 6 within New York, and all single, like not one, no kids, not married, nothing, just all living by themselves, doing what they do. And he's a childhood friend. We're talking like 12 and up, right? 12 years old, I mean. And
I got it.
she's watching them. She's watching how they operate in the clubs, And she's like, oh, this is what you're from? Like, this is what you're from? And now I think she's like, okay, I gotta manage your ass, right? Literally manage. And I'm sure she didn't trust me emphatically throughout the whole time we were dating, right? But I treated her well, I treated her nicely, crazy respect. I courted her, appropriately. I never called out her name. Till this day, I never called a bitch to her face. I'm just scared.
Oh, no. Like
Even when you
you
fight,
feel-
like even when you fight, like even when I fight with her, I don't call her.
That's a no-no.
You're not crazy.
No, but marriage.
But there's some dudes out there that are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you get married, you get real comfortable.
Like that Key and Peele episode. They're up in
Right.
space.
Right. You see my point? So she has 2 children. So she's like, I don't want them to see this. I need them to see what I'm presenting for them.
Yes.
Right. So I got it not late, but I saw it. Right. I saw what she was doing, how she managed me around them. Right. I'm like, oh, I get it. Right. And she goes, you're going to treat me in a way that they're seeing. I want you to show them how I'm supposed to be treated, so they can use that as the model. We always hope that they see that. So, and when you're young, you're selfish, right? I'm in my middle 30s. I'm still selfish. Like I know who I am, right? You're calling her to go out, but you keep forgetting, oh my God, the kids are home. So spontaneity is not always at hand, but she always had free time. She made free time appropriately, right? And balanced between me and the girls, right? And that set the standard for me to behave appropriately. Instead of saying, yeah, I'm just gonna smash this chick and I'm out, these kids don't know me, and that real malicious behavior that most men, because I can't handle this, I don't wanna be their daddy, I'm out. Like a lot of niggas live like that. And a lot of women with kids prefer the nucleus of a family setting because it's comfortable and it's safe and it's what you want going into your later years. So, and a lot of young women, they still out here wild for the night and they don't have a standard in place to show. And that is the problem why, you have this generation of these young girls, these young boys, they have no real model to say, oh, my mom and dad are like this. Because most kids emulate their parents, if they're balanced, or well balanced, and they're bred well.
Yeah.
So that's what happened with us. That's what happened. And the girls saw it. They literally saw it, right? And her oldest got married to a wonderful young man at 30. No, she was 26. Right, when Tia got married, 25, 26, right? And he was about 3 years older than her. And she met him when she was 18 or 19. Right? So they had a pretty early young life together. And 17, 18. And I watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it. And the standard was set because he approached it the same way that he saw how Joanne and I were. And he asked us first to marry her when he was 27. And we were like, no, you're not ready.
She's 21.
Right? You become more mature, do certain things. We love you, but you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
He could have stepped off and been like, oh, I'm gonna do whatever I want. No, but he respected it because he saw what we were doing over here. 3 years later, he comes back. We say yes. 3 years later, he comes back. Her dad said yes. I said yes. And that's when he asked her.
Awesome.
That's very nice.
So I think we're coming down to like the time, but Amber, I want you to answer the same question. Like, how did the 90-day rule play out with you and Brett?
No. But we waited a long time because I told him I wanted to see how he was and what kind of person he was and was he going to be there long term. And it's interesting because we both were, I remember one time, like I was all, I dated a lot of people. I've never just have one person that I would date. And so I was dating somebody. And I remember one day he got a text from somebody as a booty call, but he showed it to me. I didn't have to ask or anything like that. He showed it to me and he said, this is what my response is going to be. And it let me know, okay, he's serious about me. Now, we didn't go and have sex that night or anything like that, but he let me know. And I appreciate him being honest. And that also made me say, okay, well, I have to cut anybody else off as well, because he's serious. He's serious about me. So we waited, I think it was about 60 to somewhere around 60 days, somewhere around there. It was the holidays. So
The holiday.
you know, tis the
You
season.
see?
Yeah, tis
But
the season. And
men-
we were boyfriend and girlfriend. Like he already committed to me, you know,
Okay.
committed to each other, and we still waited a little bit.
Right. And sometimes men have these, and I hate to sound malicious and cruel, but you know, we'll have these leftover chicks who just don't take it serious. So they test it a little bit more. They might
Yes,
text you random,
yes,
some
absolutely.
random text 80
Yes.
days later. What you doing? What you
Yeah.
up to? Like,
Yeah.
oh man. So it's never really our fault. Now, first, you know what you gotta do? You gotta delete that number. Now,
Oh yeah,
if
no
he's-
doubt. No
delete
doubt.
that number.
Oh
Then
yeah.
you're like, well, I don't know who this is,
Yeah,
right? Because this is what it
absolutely.
really comes down to.
absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, but that's a good sign. That's a super good sign. And this is what we
Absolutely.
do.
Yeah, and he didn't
Men-
have to show me. He didn't have to
Yeah.
show me. He didn't have to do any of
He
that.
didn't.
So
He did not. And that's the point, right? Men, we when we know that it's you, when we focus, then we begin to make that paradigm shift, right? That shift to let you know based on our actions what we're trying to do.
yes,
And it doesn't take 90 days,
right.
you know, to circumvent and research us and make sure we're doing the right thing, et cetera, because it's a false positive. And Steve Harvey, again, I'm gonna just keep reiterating, he's not speaking for a specific segment of the population. 40 and 50-year-old women, I don't think it serves them a purpose after you've been so sexually experienced, you've been out there in the world, maybe divorced once or twice, you got kids in and out the house. It doesn't really service that segment of the population. It's the young woman who is demurred, very ladylike, you know, who wants that, and I don't want to say fairy tale, but wants that lifestyle where she could look back and say, I did it the right way, you know? And it's for her to follow, but the young man she's interested in, or the man she's interested in, could be her age, 10 or 15 years older. He has to acquiesce to that. Because if he thinks it's a 90-day rule, he's gonna scuttlebutt it. Like, you're not gonna put me on some regimented pathway to make you feel like this is something that it's not.
So
That
I
book sold-
think, oh, go ahead, sorry.
That book sold a lot of money. I think a lot of women bought it and they tried it out, and I think it's a failure.
I think it helped a lot of people. Like I said, I probably wouldn't, not normally, I wouldn't have waited the time that I waited.
It's helped me. Like, I want to know, I want to see how you behave. And I've done the 90-day rule. I mean, I do stuff, you know.
For sex,
but we don't,
I don't know if it works for sex, but I think to establish respect and a standard of how I'm going to perform in society with this guy and how he has to see me is paramount. That's paramount. That's why we lost the ladylike behavior, you know, in our society, because women, you know, the outside stimuli is so much for our younger women. It's almost decrepit
Yeah,
to watch them act the way they act in public,
I do agree with you on that.
you know? So, yeah.
I think a little while ago, and then I'll pass the mic to you, Amber. I think a little while ago, Emil, you created the 5-date rule or the 3-week rule.
Who, me?
Yeah, when you were talking at some point during our conversation, when you were providing that example of, hey, it's been 3 weeks, this is what I see. I think you and I could be good together.
Oh, yeah.
Where you at? This
Yeah.
is where I'm at. Do you have a
Yeah.
side piece? I
Yeah.
think you created that so that maybe there isn't a 90-day rule at all. There's actually, like, where we at? It's been 3 weeks. We've been dating for five. We've had 5 dates. Let's check in.
Well, 5 dates is fantastic. Well, 5 days is pretty rudimentary. I'm just talking about the quality of the date. a quality of the date tells you in his, about this man's imagination, his willingness, right, to share like intimacy of a certain nature, right? Like walking and doing corny stuff like sitting on a bench chatting could be the most immense and emotionally gratifying thing, right? Versus texting or conferencing on a call or Zooming, right? It just sets a stage for memory building.
Yes.
Right? Like that ice cream stuff is a real stuff. Like that sitting on the bench is a real stuff.
Yeah.
Just walking in the city is a real thing, and cackling and laughing and just having fluid conversation is a real thing.
Yep. Yes,
we always,
it is.
Fred and I always talk about how, we used to just sit and talk on the balcony and watch the sunset and drink wine. And
that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Coming over to my house, if you're a man with some sense of culture, and your woman is of a certain age where she knows who, Frankie Crocker is, or or Billie Holiday or whatever.
Yeah.
Come to my crib. I got this little jazz joint I want to play, have some wine, sit on the couch, do that old school Bobby Womack and go in and have a conversation for 2, 3, 4 hours, send her ass home.
Yeah.
No cheap feels, no in the bedroom.
Yes.
Let it build up. Let it all build up.
Let it marinate.
Let it marinate. Like gumbo.
Yes.
Put her in an Uber and have her texting to all her girls.
Yeah.
I think I found them.
There you go.
Yep.
And let him text his boys. I think I found her.
Exactly. And she's like, and he not gay.
Yeah.
That's what it is too. Because y'all, like, if he don't jump on you, he gay now.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. But...
I'm just saying,
I know
a lot of women just expect that. Like, yo, he's marinating. Just be easier.
Yes. Emil, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so good to hear like your perspective and
my old life
knowledge. Yes.
My old dirty life.
We definitely appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was great to be on there.
Yes.
Thank you so much, bro, to be here.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you guys later. All
yes,
righty.
but for everybody on YouTube, if you have a comment or a question you want us to get back to you on that we can ask Emil, let us know. Put it in the comment below. Thank you guys so much for listening, either on podcast, YouTube, Podbean, wherever, Spotify. We just appreciate you guys being here.
Disclaimer, I am not a psychologist nor a therapist.
He's my psychologist and my therapist.
That's right.
That's it.
He's a young guy who's made some decisions.
That's right.
Don't go with Emil.
Hold on.